So I decided I'd just go live, even though I've been kind of moving away from doing these live streams, mostly because I'm just not quite ready yet. But I guess I'm being forced into it, and I'm doing my morning walk, I forced myself to start running again too. So trying to get back into doing the right thing. But unfortunately, I still got this huge undercurrent carrying me out to sea that I can't quite shake, so I can start to swim back. I mean, once I stop getting pushed, I'm hoping my mental state will quickly jump back to healthy. I know I had a point. So I guess really why I'm making this video or live stream right now is 2 weeks and 2 days ago, my little dog Schnoodle was hit by a car while I was distracted in mental fog, and I mean, I'm definitely very responsible for it. But the reality of the situation is, I was being dismissed by my ex-wife's attorney while I was trying to finalize our divorce decree so we could move on with our lives. And I don't know, he was pretty crappy on the Monday, and I felt like I was forced into hiring another attorney, that's all part of the scam. And I have this deep desire to never hire another divorce attorney, never to speak with one the rest of my life, because those are some good ones out there, but in general, if they practice divorce law in no fault states or no fault situations, not states. They're all no fault states because the business of divorce profits so greatly from it. But if they want to practice divorce law aggressively when there's been no fault in the marriage and it's just two people that are separating, but they want to be aggressive, they're disgusting human beings, and they're no better than drug dealers. And oh shoot, man, this sidewalk is pretty bad. I don't even see that. And it's really slick, so actually I'm better off if I'm in the snow, but anyways, so I just posted a video that I didn't remember making the morning after Schnoodle got killed. So I just want to talk about that a little bit in a live stream and what's actually happened in the last 2 weeks. If you look at the little bit I put in the description, I've had like this huge flip-flop. So Schnoodle died on Thursday 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and that's sort of where I'm at now. I'm waiting. Yeah, I guess I'll do the story try not to tangent too far off and stay focused. So Schnoodle died by the afternoon. I needed to go out and bury her, and I wasn't ready to bury her. I didn't know where to bury her. I was still kind of in shock. She's still in the back of my car. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to my ex-wife's attorney, because I'm pretty pissed off, and I want him to stop dismissing me. That's basically what I'm after. I'm like, my dog died because I've been too patient, waiting for you to respond. Now, whether he wasn't responding just because he's a jerk, or because he knows what he's doing is mean and nasty, and he doesn't really like talking to me, or he's actually doing it as strategy to win the most amount, to get his client all her desires, because she wants her way all the time, which is part of the reason why we got divorced. In the reality of it, she doesn't seem to understand how often she got her way, and I always got my way, which, I have gotten my way some too, and we're supposed to get our ways sometimes, but we're all supposed to give in sometimes too. That's the whole thing of compromise. But, that's a pretty mute point when the legal system's going to financially reward her if she makes sure she sees this through. And that's where I have tons of problems with the legal system, and You know, it's the reality of the scam that they run. Anyways, so yeah, my mind's too all over the place to maybe still make a live stream. That's why haven't been doing them, because my last one or two went pretty far awry. Anyways, I posted that this morning, and in it, it's like my real thoughts the morning after, and I still stuck up for her attorney, and said he was the best of the three humans I dealt with, because the two that I hired, I still feel I'm probably going to try to get ethics violations against them if I can, but it's probably not, because when I was trying to work with my wife's attorney, because you can do that once you fire yours, and they don't like that because it's not their buddy. They're used to working with their buddies and their colleagues who are working together to screw the clients under the guise of actually see, there's so many tangents now that I think about this that I could go on. So many tangents, because just yesterday morning I stumbled across a really wonderful recording of my wife and I conversation a week after we had a hearing in September, when it looked like there was a light at the end of the tunnel 15 months ago, because there's 15 or 14, however many September is, from November. But because I had a good experience in court, because I fired my attorneys, and then I cut off one of their revenue streams, and the judge was like, oh, well, maybe you guys can try mediation now, because you're not willing to pay an attorney. That's my interpretation of it. I don't know why it took 9 months for the judge to think, oh, well, maybe you should try mediation. Who knows? Actually, you know what, there's a good possibility of it is the lawyer that I fired actually did a little bit of the right thing, and reached out to the judge and said, hey, this guy wants mediation, maybe you should send him there, and give credit where credit is due, because there's, as much as I can't stand these guys, they should still have some obligation to try to help you. And I think we had enough discussions. He understood exactly. Well, it's unfortunate for them when you understand what they're doing, because then they can't run their little scam under your nose. You know what they're doing, and so, and they don't like being called out on it. It's part of the problem too. So I don't know, I'm tangenting all over the place. Anyways, she had a discussion with me, and it's all like within 10 minutes, so it'll be really fun someday if I want to play it back for the public. I don't know if I should or could or would or want to do that, but she worked for United Healthcare. She talked about United Healthcare running their business for their own self-interest, and the reasons why they run it for their self-interest, and all from stuff that's in the public too. It's not from anything specifically. She was quoting an article from the Wall Street Journal, and she's like, yeah, I guess I work in this terrible profession or for this terrible company that's doing these terrible things, and I get it, but there's also good that's being done at the same time. But if you fast forward a couple months, which is probably about a month from now, because a year ago, right around now, I guess, the CEO was assassinated. So, and exactly why he was assassinated probably is still a question mark on a lot of people's minds. And I don't know. I know how I found out. I found out because a year ago right now, I was on my way to Mexico, and because my wife wouldn't watch the dogs so I could fly, so I decided to drive all the way to Playa del Carmen or Cancun. More people know where Cancun is, so that's pretty much all the way through Mexico, and it was pretty exciting. It was a fun trip, definitely an adventure that I enjoy saying that I had. And but once I got there, she hadn't talked to me for like 2 weeks, because that's what she does. There's a difference between setting a boundary because you're the victim, and you can also set boundaries and not communicate out of aggression too. And determining exactly where that is can be very complicated, and there's usually a little mix of both in almost all situations. Anyways, she ignored me for 2 weeks because I said I was going to Mexico anyways. She called me once I got to Mexico. And then she told me all about the CEO being assassinated, which I didn't even know about, which is, it's part of why this divorce is tough for me, is because when I can communicate and connect with her, it feels so good, and we get along so easily and so right. So it's interesting. I just look at what's going on in the greater world, and then what's going on in my individual world and where they interact. So that was interesting find yesterday morning, because I knew I remembered talking to her about it, but I didn't remember when, and I didn't even know if I had it recorded, even though I got a lot recorded. But to actually have it recorded and listen to the details a year later, the stuff that you've actually forgot about. And that's sort of what I'm saying about this morning is I had a video from 2 weeks ago that I more or less, it's just how your brain tries to deal with the stress that just kind of keeps happening because we can't finalize this process. And so anyways, in that video, so now I'm finally getting this, what I really wanted to say in this video is, which, now I gotta be careful where I'm walking across the street. I really don't want to fall again. Already fallen once out here in this ice. But, whoa. Because it actually is really slick. Many spots. I don't know. I was saying in that video that I said quite a bit in that video, and just kind of want to explain a few things. So I'm going to try to do that quickly in 2 or 3 minutes, and probably close this out because I can't concentrate. Still can't concentrate. It took me a while to figure out why I was driving in that video. I was driving to Cleveland, actually, ironically, because I was finally having a follow-up test done from 2 years ago, because I passed out just over 2 years ago, right before she filed for divorce. And I still don't know if it's from, it's probably mostly the stress of the breaking of the relationship, honest, if I'm being honest with myself. But it did have the COVID shot, and there are heart problems from it, but fortunately I don't think I have any of those. Anyways, my doctor ordered a follow-up test, so I was on my way to do that when I made the video that I posted this morning. Didn't remember that until I thought really hard about it after watching it. The only reason I was my memory's full. That's why I'm making this as a live stream instead of a video too. Which, if it was a video, I could chop it all up and take out all the boring parts that I'm rambling on, because I can't make a consistent thought. I still can't do it at the moment. Anyways, I talk about Schnoodle, and I talk about James Sexton, and one other thing I wanted to mention, if I could just concise this all down and had notes. James Sexton's been a source of a lot of my understanding of what goes on with the business of divorce, and he doesn't really condemn it as much as I believe that he should, and he profits from it. So that still bothers me about him personally. Once I uploaded my video and watched it, there's an episode of his new podcast from 3 months ago. It might have been one of the most applicable ones, and Jimmy Knowles is another person I've been watching some. Seen a lot of his content, and I think it's pretty helpful. And James actually referenced him in his episode because he's now like a little podcaster. So maybe he's going to get himself out of the business of divorce. And I would really appreciate it, because I think I was talking about my friend Paula Kofer earlier about trying to get eye surgeons to quit doing LASIK eye surgery. And she said there's no good humans that do LASIK eye surgery because they know that they shouldn't do it. But there's plenty of good eye surgeons out there, and there's lots of good reasons for society to have eye surgeons, and those ones don't practice LASIK. So, or the big thing is encourage LASIK. That's where the real problem lies, when they encourage LASIK. And so, so the divorce attorneys, the ones that encourage people to enter into a divorce instead of trying to work with them, understand their problems, and if they reconcile, then there's no business for the lawyers. So, my big thing I've had fun saying is my wife's attorney is the best human out of the three that I've worked with. And he's definitely, I mentioned in the description, because of the events of that's what I've been wanting to do for a long time. The last 2 weeks, since I made that video. So later that day after I made the video, I went to see an attorney that I made an appointment for 3 weeks ago, because you got to sit there and wait for 3 weeks to get an appointment with any attorneys in the area that might be halfway decent. So I met with him, and then I realized that I don't like divorce attorneys, even the better ones. And I was hoping I actually wasn't going to need his services afterwards, because the next day, on Saturday, my wife's attorney finally did the right thing and stopped dismissing me and wrote me a professional email that he should have the Monday before Schnoodle died to cut all the stress. And then I talked with Heather 3 times for about an hour and a half in the next hour and a half on Saturday, an hour and a half on Monday, and an hour and a half on Tuesday. Maybe not that long on Tuesday, but I thought we were going to be done. We were going to be done. We had an agreement that she reluctantly, verbally agreed to, and for her own conscientiousness, she did say that if she still wanted to talk to her attorney one more time. So instead of calling me back or let me know what they decided once they talked it out, I got an email from her attorney the next morning saying, we're going to prepare to take you back to court because this hasn't been finalized. The only reason it hasn't been finalized is because they've been passive aggressive the entire time, and I've been passive for the most part, just waiting for them to get back to me, waiting, and then trying to assert myself and getting pushed down because it helps them to avoid me. If they really want me to go away, they should finalize this and then remove my motivation, and then see where the motivations are. I can tell you from whether I'm lying to myself, like James Sexton says in that episode, or not, I believe that my biggest motivation is to maintain the friendship from the most important person in my life that I really wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And she chose to leave. She gave me options that I could do. She gave me conditions that if I did what she wanted me to, she would have stayed, which, if you look at the varying possibilities of that, it's like, one is, it's manipulating and demanding. Another way is it's giving you an opportunity to stay. And where in the gray area does the truth lie? And, that's where I take some of the responsibility, is some of the stuff she was asked to do wouldn't have been that hard. However, it's a two-way street too. And I felt like, which probably maybe a lot of men do, and maybe this is how a lot of men save their relationship. It's like they're expected to do all the changing and then you got to accept the woman for how she is. And, iron should sharpen iron. Both people should be encouraged to try to change for the better. And stuff she was wanting me to change, some of it was stuff that I really didn't want to do because that's not who I am. And then a couple things were things I need to do to better my life and better myself, and I have no qualms about those ones. But some of the stuff she was trying to do to change who I was, so I could be the person she wanted me to be, you know, those I still hold to, that I don't want to do. You know, those are the ones I feel are more manipulations, and like just being neater and cleaner and picking up a little more after myself and stuff. Yeah, I'm kind of with her on that one. If she, I could have done that if she wasn't pushing me to change who I was, and you know, not travel in the winter, or you know, stuff I need to do for my mental health. I would have tried harder to keep her, but I mean, quite honestly, there'd been a year or two of stress, and the relationship was challenging. So if she didn't want to work with me to try to save it, I wasn't trying to save it. But I do really respect her as a person. All the stuff she did until she hired the attorney, until she aggressively went after something that, you know, morally and ethically she doesn't deserve, but legally, because of the corruption of the business of divorce, she is encouraged to fight for. And that's where things really need to change. And I probably said too much. Watch the video that I just posted, especially if you stuck this all through. I mean, it's only 13 minutes. I kind of cover quite a bit in it. I didn't tangent around as much as I am in the moment now. And I never posted it, never thought about posting it. It's too early to, because I'm still missing Snoodle pretty bad. And yeah, I mean, still got one dog, but I'd like to have my friend back. And I had her for 4 days, and then they filed aggressively to get what she wants, that she doesn't deserve. And most people would agree, if they know the whole story, that she doesn't deserve it. So we're going to see if the judge is reasonable and fair and listens to both sides, and is not motivated out of you know, helping his colleagues. I don't think will pan out the way I mean, I might ultimately have to do what she wants, but they're threatening to take possession of my business so they can make sure she gets her money. And the only reason it's not finalized now is because they postponed everything. So, and then I was passive and I let them do it, and I didn't want to hire an attorney to force them to do it. Plus, I mean, yeah. So I got to stop being so passive. It's what I got to stop doing, and fighting back somehow, effectively. And all right, I'm out for now. I want to go get some coffee and try to enjoy the rest of this holiday weekend while this undercurrent, keep my head above the water when this undercurrent is just beating the shit out of me. Just the waves just keep flopping in. I keep getting above the wave, and then it splashes right on top of me again. So, all right, I'm out for now.